Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Startup Jungle. I'm your host, Lo Silva, and today with me I have Chris Evans. Chris is an expert at retargeting. He actually created um, the course for Startup Jungle, which specializes completely on retargeting and all different retargeting strategies. So what's up, Chris? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I am excited to be here. I've got my coffee, I've got my water, and I'm ready to drop some serious knowledge on these guys.
That's awesome, man. So let's start off a little. Let's backpedal a little bit and tell me a little bit about how you got started um, and how you actually stumbled into becoming a retargeting expert.
Yeah, so I'm one of those guys who I love everything marketing. So I try to keep my finger on the pulse of all things marketing, especially traffic conversions. And several years ago, obviously through my process of trying to increase my conversions, I stumbled upon this thing called retargeting, and it so intrigued me because I had been targeted by Amazon and all these different companies, Walmart, and I'd seen, I'd gone and looked at a product and I'd seen that ad for that product, following me around the internet. I was like, what in the world is this? I've got to figure out what these guys are doing and see if I can apply this to my business. So, obviously, being a business owner and trying to get more business and trying to get more people to either opt into our email list or purchase our product, we have to get back in front of them as much as possible because, it takes on average 7, 8, maybe sometimes 12 times before, somebody purchases your products. They have to see your offer, or your brand, or your product that many times before that trust and that confidence is built. So I just started researching and reading every single blog and thing out there about retargeting, and just jumped in, man, tried to figure it out myself. And so I did, and now I do it for clients, and now I'm creating courses. So it's conversions is a big point when it comes to somebody's business. It's all about conversion. So whether you're paying to send traffic from Google AdWords or Bing or Facebook or pay-per-view traffic, whatever kind of traffic you're sending to your website, not everybody that comes there is going to convert. So one of the ways to follow up and to help someone increase their conversions is to follow up with retargeting. So I'm a huge fanboy of retargeting. I love it, and it absolutely works.
Nice, man. Nice. So, a big thing right now that obviously Startup Jungle does is we focus on startups, and that can be it's a very broad topic, right? Because it can be venture-backed Series A startups, or it can be just the guy who just wants to have a new business and create a startup. So, how can from this broad spectrum someone get started on retargeting? I know there's a lot of networks and I know there's a lot of different ways. So how would you suggest kind of like the starter kit for retargeting?
Well, let's kind of start with maybe the startup idea and somebody who's looking at getting VC. Obviously, in that period of time, you're wanting to prove your idea and your concept to those folks. So one thing is you want to stay top of mind, right? Because you have competition, people trying to get that money, right? So one thing that your competition probably is not doing is they're probably not retargeting. So let's say you do a video and you talk about your pitch and you talk about your product, your service, whatever it is that you're trying to launch. Well, you can take that product and that pitch and you can put it into a retargeting video, to where when somebody's watching a YouTube video, your commercial or your ad comes up before every single video, so that you get your pitch essentially back in front of those different venture capitalists. So that's one unique way for a startup person how you can use retargeting to get back in front of the people that you really need to convince them to give you money, right? Or whether it's other investors, you can run ads on all over the internet and just follow these guys around with your proof. So maybe if you have some kind of proof of concept as far as testimonials, you can run testimonial ads back to these guys, saying, "Oh, I love this product. This product's changed my life." So basically, whether it's a really blatant ad or it's more subliminal, that you're consistently staying in front of those people every single day, and that's really a part of your follow-up process. So as far as different networks, man, there are so many different networks out there and ways that you can retarget. And as retargeting is becoming more and more popular, there's more networks that are coming out. Now, before, back in the day, you had to have a lot of money, man, to do retargeting, like 10,000, 20,000 upwards.
Yeah.
So it really eliminated a lot of the smaller guys. Even, if you're a $1 million business, $500 business, you might not want to go out and drop 20 grand on a retargeting campaign,
Yeah.
right? And maybe you don't have that kind of traffic and that volume to make it even worth it. But now, I mean, you literally can spend $10 a day on retargeting, right? So it doesn't really matter, how small your audience is. I mean, depending on the network, it has to be at least 500 before some networks will even display your ads based on privacy. But you can start very, very small and start getting your brands, getting your image, getting your call to action back in front of the people that you really want to be in front of. So, yeah, that's just a few tips.
Well, that's a you bring up a really good topic because for a lot of people that are just starting up and not they don't have VC capital or they don't have anything like that, so they just want to kind of like prove concept, right? And they're just like, hey, I got an idea. How do I get it out? I've always thought one of the quickest ways to get it out is just spend a little bit of money on traffic,
Hmm.
right? But now spend a little bit of money on traffic, prove your concept, and retarget these people and see how many more people. Because like you said, it takes 7, 8, 9, up to 12 times for someone to see the same thing for them to actually make a purchase. So
Right.
I think that's one of the best ways for anyone to really prove a concept. We're actually going to be running some case studies of just brand new ideas and things like that, seeing if they work, seeing if they don't. We're going to be running some traffic. I'm definitely going to be doing some retargeting through these things, through Facebook, through Twitter. So that actually brings me to my next question. How do you do retargeting on all these networks? Do you do retargeting on all of them? What's been your main focus right now?
So let me back up just a minute, and I want to hit something real quick first. When we're talking about traffic and we're talking about retargeting, to me, the whole goal is to get the lead.
Hmm.
That's the initial step, because once you get the lead, then you can start to build a relationship with those people. So just kind of starting, at square one, if you're launching a product or it's a service or whatever it might be, initially your goal should be to get that lead. Then you can, put them into an, what we call an email sequence, give them value, build that rapport. So that's one way I would start with retargeting right out of the bat. And then you offer your product and service. So as far as the networks, again, there's probably hundreds of networks out there that you can
Yeah.
retargeting, but it's based on what your goals are. And I like to go with something that's pretty easy. Obviously, Google, they're a huge platform. You can retarget through them. And it's going to depend on the type of business that you have. Do you have JVs and affiliates and stuff like that? Some platforms don't allow that. But Google is one to start with. Facebook now allows retargeting. You can actually grab, most people can, they've given access to many, many people out there to where you can grab a pixel from Facebook and retarget people via their platform. Some of the more popular ones out there are AdRoll, Perfect Audience, are two of the ones that I prefer personally, that are just really easy to use, and it doesn't take much to get started. And actually, some of them will give you a credit, $50, $60, sometimes $70, that you can apply to start a campaign out. So starting out, that's what I'd start with, one of those platforms.
Nice. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So take me a little bit through how you kind of go through mentally and look to develop a campaign. Let's say uh, an example that you might have, or just like a software as a service. What's the best game plan to kind of get started and set up a retargeting campaign for their product?
Okay, so yeah, if I'm looking at my initial goal to be to get a lead, to get that opt-in,
Hmm.
I would look at the best initial offer that I can give them, the best bait. right?
Mhm.
So if I'm sending traffic from AdWords or Facebook, whatever it is, and for whatever reason they land on my landing page and they don't take that initial offer, okay, what can I do next that's going to be a better offer, right, to get them back to my page? So I kind of look at it that way to see, okay, I need to come up with a really great offer initially. So when I'm sending traffic to them, if they don't take it, then I can run maybe time campaign retargeting, saying, hey, if you don't, take this offer, it's going to go away in, 3 days or whatever it might be. So, that's what I go with initially. Now, if I already have the lead, for example, if I've run them to a webinar and they're in my funnel, my webinar funnel, they went to my webinar and they didn't attend, that's a little bit different. Now I'm either sending them back to the replay of the webinar, or I'm looking to send them back to a different order form, a different checkout page, a different landing page, and constantly testing to see how, what message is going to work with these people. But one thing that we found that works really, really well is, you have your product and you place a price on it. Let's say if it's a digital product, let's say it's $1,000, and what you would do is you would have a timed discount. So maybe for 7 days or 14 days, you put a time limit on it and say, hey, this is going to be 50% off. So we're going to offer until 7 days. You have to purchase this product for $4.97.
Mhm.
And it can apply to any kind of pricing structure or service or whatever you might have. Because if you have that scarcity involved, then you want to try to make it as real as possible. You don't want them to come back 3 months later to that link and it's going to be the same discounted special offer price, because then they'll just never believe you again. So it really will depend on where you're at in the process. Are you trying to just grab the initial lead, or are you trying to get the purchase, right? And based on that, you've got to identify what's the best offer you can put, what's the best foot forward you can put out there to pull them in. So now, if you have a really lucky product, that's another issue to deal with. But put your best foot forward to pull them in and really build that value and build that trust is a way to go.
So let's say that I am sending out an offer. I'm looking for people to buy my stuff, right? My whatever product or service I may have. So right now I'm driving traffic and I'm looking for people to come and do a purchase. Would it be what would you suggest would be the better sequence if someone's like, no, I'm not into this? Would you send them to a webinar? Hey, look at this so we can better educate you about this. Would you send them to something timed? Or would you send them to some sort of like native ad, which is like, hey, read this content, and then after that maybe even give them more content that they would have to opt in and kind of create that email sequence that you mentioned?
Yeah, for me, I love webinars. I mean, webinars, it's a great way to where people are conditioned to attend a webinar, and they still work like crazy. Now, what my preference would be an auto webinar, because I don't want to have a basically fill up my schedule every single day. But with an auto webinar, you can run that 1,000 times, and you have people from all over the world attending this great content. But the thing that I always and that I try to put into my products and services is that my initial goal always is to give them value first. If I can give them a ton of value and build that rapport with them, if I have a great offer and if it's seemingly a great product or service, then the job should be done, right? Now, it could be to where I'm just in front of the completely wrong crowd, and that's another issue. So starting from the very beginning, make sure that you are getting in front of the right people, and that you put these little things in place for them to basically qualify or unqualify themselves with. One thing that we've talked a lot about and that Ryan talks a lot about is tripwires, to where you start them out in the beginning, maybe a $7 purchase, just to see if they'll pull out their wallet. Okay, then maybe I'll put them into a sequence to purchase something for $50 or $100 or whatever it might be. So I love webinars, but again, it will depend on the different industry services that these guys are offering.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, definitely agree also on webinars. I know a lot of people still don't use them or don't believe in them because they think that attendance is lower and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're gonna get a lot of sales through webinars. And sometimes auto webinars don't convert as much, but if you're sending retargeted traffic back to a webinar that converted well and you're using that one as your auto webinar, I think you should be pretty okay.
Yeah, so just to follow up on that with our webinars, I mean, retargeting is not just for somebody to purchase your product. Retargeting, the goal of retargeting is essentially it's an online billboard. So you advertise whatever it is that you want to advertise. So advertise when somebody registers, we retarget them from the point they register to the point of when the webinar actually happens. And what we're essentially advertising to them is the reason why they should be on the webinar. So it might be they're going to get a free download, they're going to get some kind of special PDF. So we have a really high attendance rate. That's one way that you can utilize retargeting, with your webinars because, especially in the marketing arena, there are a lot of people that run webinars all the time. So if you go the extra mile and go a little bit beyond what your competition will do, then you will get more people on your webinar than what they have. And we use auto webinars really, really successful that way.
Nice. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about some advanced kind of retargeting sequences and scenarios that we could be using for people. Could you elaborate on a few different things that you've done that's a little bit more advanced and kind of taking people through different sequences or different steps as they're going in their retargeting campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing you have to be careful about with retargeting is, and one way it will not work is if you're just running the exact same ad to everybody that hits your page.
Mhm.
So, if somebody comes to your website and they purchase your products and you're still running that same retargeting ad, it's just going to cost you unnecessary that you shouldn't be spending. So, something that's a little bit more advanced that people who actually do retarget, a lot of them don't do this, is creating burn lists. Basically, a burn list is if somebody takes that action that you want them to take, if they opt in or if they purchase your product, whenever they land on your thank you page, you basically add them to a successful list. So basically tell them, okay, they've already taken that action that you want them to take. So for example, if you go and you purchase my product for $4.97, right? I've been marketing to you with my retargeting ad saying, hey, Lois, purchase my course for $4.97, right? So once you purchase that, I'm going to take you off that list and I'm going to add you to another list, right? So this next list is going to be maybe my mastermind. Hey, Lois, we've got this awesome mastermind. Check it out. We've got a video here. So it runs to a landing page, talking about all kinds of crazy testimonies of people who have been through the mastermind, who've had a ton of success. Now I'm moving you up the ladder, and I'm using retargeting to do that. But if I'm running the same freaking ad to you for all of my products, right, you're not focused, you're not segmented, and if anybody here has done any kind of email marketing, you know that segmenting your list is extremely important. It's the exact same thing with retargeting. You want to segment your audiences. If you're running the same ad to everybody, you're just going to be very, very, you're not going to be effective at all. So, the people who land on your homepage, put them on one list. That your product, your different product pages, put them on their own list. And whenever they land on the thank you page for whatever your desired action is for them, take them off that list and then put them onto another list so that again you can market different products and services and offerings. That's probably way more advanced that most people get. And when you start talking about that, it's like, oh my God, retargeting. I was overwhelmed just with retargeting. Now you're starting to pull out all this advanced stuff. But we actually, I break this down in the retargeting course that we
Yeah,
create. But
it's very well broken down, and it's actually just a little extra time to make a massive, massive difference in the income that you're going to be generating through retargeting, right?
yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. If you're to be the most effective with paid traffic, you want to send somebody to an offer, to a page really relates to where they're at in their business. And see, the mistake that most people make, even advanced guys, even gurus, is they send people to one page and they think, one message fits all, right? But that's not the case. Males look differently at something, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, so, one thing that you could do is you could segment it by ages, and you have different imagery based on the demographic of who you're talking to, right? So instead of sending all of your traffic everywhere to one landing page and retargeting all those people, what you could do is break it down by demographics, send them to their own landing page. Now you're retargeting those people, with the imagery of their demographic, right? So, you're just really honing in and you're laser focusing on those people. And if you can, come up with a message and come up with the images that really relate to those people, you're going to have higher conversions. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people do retargeting, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this. And it's basically, like you said, it's a billboard, but it's the wrong billboard. It's just kind of like a logo or someone's picture and a comment like, "Hey, check it out.
Yeah.
I'm here again," and there's no real call to action. So, what are some good call to actions to set up in your retargeting?
So one thing is, with your ad is you want to try to relate it to your landing page as much as possible. So when they see your ad, they say, "Oh yeah, that was a thing that I saw," and you want to have a good headline that gets their attention. You want to have a good image that draws them in, which many people call the hero shot, and then you want to have a good call to action button. Okay, so one thing is, if I'm running an offer for 50% discount on a course for a client, then I'll say, get my 50% discount. I mean, just make it freaking plain and simple. The whole thing that you want to kind of get into their psychology and think of, yeah, I want my 50% discount. Okay, let me click that button, go to a really kick-ass landing page that obviously has great copy and what the action they need to take there. So again, think about it as far as the action that you're wanting them to take. Get my free report, get my discount, get my free quote. I do stuff for local service businesses. And targeting for small businesses works like gangbusters, especially because small businesses aren't running retargeting ads.
Yeah.
So, you have really no competition out there. So get my discount, stuff like that works very, very well. And then one thing that many people don't do in their ads is a blue underlined link under their button. And from the years of like the late 90s, when we all first started getting online and AOL, pretty much every link we're conditioned to click. If it's underlined and it's blue, it's a link and we're supposed to click it, right?
Same as in emails.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing that we put in all of our ads right underneath the button because we're conditioned to click that.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that we do. And when I'm starting out my retargeting campaigns, I don't start out with a full ad set. Obviously you have tons of different ad sizes that you can go with, but I generally start with a 300 by 250 ad. I test it. I test the headline, test the ad. If it's getting a good click through, then I'll build out the rest of my ads and add those to the portfolio. But that's something else is I'm all about quick to market. I've got an idea. I want to test it. I'm gonna throw an ad up there, and anytime they're like trying to get something so professionally done, and they build out every single ad size possible, and they spend a crap load of money. Many times I'll use Pixlr.com or PowerPoint, and I'll build my own ad, throw it up there, and prove that concepts and make sure it's getting click-throughs.
And it doesn't need to be beautiful, does it? I've seen the majority of people that say that, the ugly ones convert better.
Yep. Yeah, because all these companies out there who have tens of millions of dollars to spend, they make beautiful ads. So we are blind to beautiful ads, essentially. Now, sometimes I have that kind of that struggle with clients, like, they want that beautiful ad, but you can still add a more direct response to a nice ad, by making sure you have a really good color contrast, having a picture of a real person and not just like a stock image. One thing that converts really well over and over in so many different industries is having a broken line border around the image. And you can do it to where it looks nice, but it's just that contrast really draws the ad in. And that's the thing you have to realize is when you're retargeting, you are competing with every single thing on that website that your ad's displaying on. So you've got that really pulls them in and pulls their ad, pulls their eye over to your ad, and then obviously, your promise, your headline needs to be good enough, and then the call to action on the button to make them click.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been great. Chris, do you have anything else that I might have missed that you want to add?
Um, I think one thing that is extremely important is I don't care what kind of business, whether you're a startup, whether you're a multi-million-dollar company, whether you're just a flower shop, whoever is watching this video absolutely must be using retargeting, because if you're not, I guarantee you that you are losing money. You are leaving money on the table, and there's not, I love it when I come into a client and I look at what they have going on. We add targeting to their business, and they increase it by 1,000, 10,000, upwards every single week. In addition to the revenue. And one thing to realize is you don't have to start out, with a crazy campaign. Start basic, get something going, and if you do, you're going to beat out your competition, because it's likely your competition is not retargeting yet. Why? Because again, it costs so much money, and it's just now available to kind of the general public. So take action, use retargeting. Obviously, you can get a hold of me if you want me to build it out for you, or you want help. Purchase our course.
Definitely. One more thing that I do want to ask is, for someone getting started, really for anyone, where do you recommend I'm getting retargeting started today, and I have an offer, I'm trying to get value, everything that we discussed. Where would you put the retargeting cookie? In the checkout form, at the beginning of a webinar? Where do you normally put these things?
Well, I always, at the very least, I put a cookie on the homepage, just because those people at the very minimum have raised their hands and say, hey, I'm interested in your product and service, however they got to your website. So it doesn't hurt just to build that audience. But definitely the landing page where the product is, and if you want to break it down a little bit more granular, the order form for sure, because if they don't check out and they don't make that purchase, then that's like that. I mean, that is like the most ideal person I want to get in front of as much as possible, because they actually went to the order form, but for whatever reason they didn't purchase. So in that situation, they must kind of question or something came up. So what I would do in that situation, I would actually run like a customer service ad. Say, hey, we noticed that you didn't purchase our product. Do you have any questions? Call us here. Nice. Or click here to email us, or click here to chat, and you send them to a page where they can actually interact with you. Because a lot of times the reason they don't purchase, they have one simple question.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on with us. And like Chris said, the retargeting course is available on startupjungle.com. If you go to courses, it will be available there. So Chris, again, thank you for your time, and thanks for everything, man. Really appreciate it. Love the course, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, see you.
All right, guys.